but the husband and wife, the marriage challenge. So last week, we kind of targeted in on this verse found in Romans chapter 12. It says, love one another with brotherly affection. But it's really the second part. Outdo one another in showing honor. Outdo one another in showing honor. That is a flat out God throwing down the gauntlet challenge, saying, I dare you to outdo one another. Now you can take this idea and apply it to the church family. You could take the idea and apply it for children to their parents, parents to their children. You can take this idea and apply it in any relationship you have. But we're looking specifically at the husband and wife relationship. So really the question we endeavored to answer last week was this: are you outdoing your spouse in showing honor? Are you outdoing your spouse in showing honor? I think sometimes we remember the times we have outshone them, but it's not have you done it, are you? Are you actively doing it? Not do you feel honor in your heart, are you showing them honor with your actions? And what we learned was this, that to show honor is to treat the other person as valuable, costly, precious. So really the question becomes, do you show your spouse honor? Are you outdoing them in showing honor? And so at the end of last week, as you were leaving, we handed out these cards. The honor challenge. And the idea was, on your own, not in conjunction with your spouse, you keep track of where you think you're showing honor and where you think they're showing honor and where you think maybe you showed dishonor toward them or where they showed dishonor towards you, and then you add up your score. So the whole point of the exercise wasn't really who won or lost. The whole point was learn what things communicate honor. Learn some things about yourself. Hopefully it opened up some communication. I know it did for my wife and for me. On Monday morning, we sat and talked, and we had some just straight out conversation about what honor looks like in our life, in our marriage, and how we can do better. And so we didn't keep score because, well, there was no point. I started so far in the hole, I couldn't have dug myself out. So we didn't keep score, but it still produced some things in our life and in our marriage, and hopefully it did for you as well. So this morning, if last week we talked about honor, and we ended with this verse last week, and I just want to focus in on the very first part of it from Ephesians chapter 4. Verse 32, it says, be kind to one another. So if we're challenged to outdo one another in showing honor, the next challenge is this: how do we be kind to one another? I believe kindness is one of the most overlooked aspects of a successful marriage. One of the verses that's read in so many weddings or passages of Scripture is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's called the love chapter. It's in anniversary cards. It's all those kind of things. And part of that chapter says this: love is patient. Love is kind. And yet so often I see couples that fail at being kind to one another. It seems like they don't know how to be nice. And it's yet love is kind. And then we read in Ephesians, be kind to one another. So the challenge is, how do we be kind to each other? If you were to take those two verses and combine them into a single thought, I believe part of it would be this: continually be kind, never demanding it be returned, but always believing it will be. When you have set your mind, set your heart on being kind, part of what you're doing is saying, I am going to continually be kind. See, so often we think it is a cash on the barrelhead transaction. It's a tit for tat. It's a quid pro quo. You do this, I'll do that. I'll be kind, you be kind. You stop being kind, I stop being kind. I was kind once, you weren't kind in return. I did my deal, and we're done. But that's not what the idea is. The idea is to continually be kind, never demanding it be returned, but hoping, believing, trusting that it will be. I have seen marriages that grow, couples that are happy, married for years, and what I've seen is that they have chosen to be kind to each other. It's a deliberate choice. Nobody's born kind. We learn how to be kind. Sure, there's temperament, there's personality, but they intentionally choose day in and day out to be kind. Successful marriages, happy marriages, almost always have kindness at the center of it. So you can think about it like this. Meanness might not be present in every bad marriage, but kindness is present in every good one. I have done a lot of marriage counseling. I have talked to a lot of married couples. I don't know any married couples that are happy, that are deeply in love decades later, that kindness isn't a foundation of their relationship. Now, I know marriages that aren't working. They're not mean to each other. They're indifferent, but they're not kind. They may be mean. The opposite of being kind doesn't necessarily mean you have to be mean. It could just mean you're indifferent. You don't care. You're apathetic. I think sometimes it happens as couples get busy in life, especially when these little critters called kids show up. But it's not always kids. I know couples that don't have kids and they're not kind to each other. And it's not because they're being mean. We just forget. We forget to be intentionally kind. We go through the motions of life. We pass each other. We don't say hi. We don't give a kiss. We don't give a hug. We just kind of go through. And then sometimes it does become meanness. It becomes a harsh word. It becomes a rolling of the eyes. It becomes a body language that communicates disgust and anger and angst towards that person. But so often it's not those things. It's just an indifference. We forget to be kind. Now, I don't know about you. I remember growing up, we had a thing called a house phone. Before everyone had a phone in their pocket, I know some of the teenagers are like, oh, what? It hung on the wall and it would ring and disrupt everyone. And I remember there was times my mom would typically answer the phone, and she would not have been maybe in a moment of being the most kind to my dad or to one of myself or one of my siblings. And she's just mad, laying into him. The phone rings. With one breath, you just stopped the, hello? Oh, yeah, we're doing so good. How are you? I'm thinking, what in the world? Because it becomes this, we have learned I have to be kind in certain environments with certain people. I'm expected to be kind, but I don't need to be kind to like my spouse. I don't need to be kind to my family. So here's something I've learned. If you are kinder to other people than to your spouse, something is wrong. Now, I'm not saying you should be here's the answer, just be mean to everyone. I'll just be mean as a hornet to everyone. No. You shouldn't be mean to everyone, but you should be as kind. Actually, you should be kinder to your spouse than to anyone else. But you should be kind to everyone. Be kind to one another is what we read in Ephesians. So how do we do that? What are ways that we can show kindness one to another? The first is this: acts of kindness. Acts of kindness. I'm going to mention some specific things, but really you have to take this idea and boil it down to what it looks like in your marriage. Acts of kindness. You could call it random acts of kindness. Those things that you do for someone that are unexpected, kind of spur of the moment. Often we think of random acts of kindness towards strangers. I see people that do it. I think it's wonderful. They go through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and they'll say, hey, I want to pay for the car behind me. First they'll say, hey, what did the car behind me order? Oh, just a glass of water. I would like to pay for that. But a random act of kindness. They get nothing in return, but they're doing something kind for someone. That's wonderful. But what about random acts of kindness for our spouse? In Proverbs, it says this: your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. You want to know one reason why your marriage might feel like it's being destroyed from the inside out? Your cruelty. If you're being cruel to each other, it will not produce happiness. It will not produce intimacy. It will not produce closeness. It will destroy you faster than anything. But kindness will reward you. You want a deep, satisfying, meaningful marriage. Be kind to one another. Those random acts of kindness, they're things you just can do. You can do on a regular, consistent basis. You could do out of the just spur of the moment. They don't have to be big. They don't have to be expensive. But part of it is being aware of what's going on around you in the context of your home, taking the temperature of your spouse. Are they needing something at this moment? So if you endeavor to do this, to take one small thing off their plate, at a random time, just endeavor, I'm going to do something for them. I'm going to empty the dishwasher. I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to make the bed. I'm going to mow the lawn. I'm going to make that phone call. Whatever it is, that's something that they need to do. It's something on their plate. And you say, I'll just take care of it for them. But that means being aware. It means knowing what they need and finding a way to meet that need. It's an act of kindness. But random acts of kindness don't need to be expensive. They could be quick. They could be simple. It could be buying flowers for no apparent reason. Here's one. If you're shopping, if you stop at the grocery store, buy your spouse's favorite ice cream and say, baby, I got this for you. And I want to watch you eat this like a glutton. I mean, just the whole thing in one sitting. Buy their favorite candy bar, their favorite snack. Just get it for them. I got this for you. I was thinking about you. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Hey, I went out and mowed the lawn. I know you didn't have time to do that. I wanted to take care of that for you. I remember one time, early in our marriage, I was in the kitchen and I was getting something out of the fridge and I noticed that we didn't have much milk left. I went off to work. On the way home, I stopped at the store and bought a gallon of milk. I just thought, we need milk. I walk in the door. I said, hey, I brought some milk home. My wife lit up. Oh, you thought about us. You noticed that we needed milk and you got it. I so appreciate it. Oh, you don't know how much. It's 20 years later. She still talks about a gallon of milk. I thought, my goodness, I'm missing the point. I want to plan vacations and let's go away for the weekend and let's get a hotel somewhere and do big extravagant. She wants a $2 gallon of milk. Man, but those random acts of kindness. See, small acts of kindness can be huge. They can be huge. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be extravagant. Those random acts of kindness are awesome. But one thing I've learned is this. Random acts of kindness are great, but so are consistent acts. See, so often we do the random here and the random there, and we think we're off the hook. This is my problem sometimes. How do I do that consistently? It's why we talked about the honor challenge last week. It's the same thing in being kind. How do I do this consistently, regularly? I talk to couples who have been married for 50, 60 years, and they'll say things like, every day, he brings me a cup of coffee. Every day, she makes my lunch. It's consistent. It may not be a big deal, but it mattered to them. And those things were happening regularly, consistently. And there was a huge payoff in that marriage. So it's not just the random acts. Those are great, but it's the consistent acts. So here's the challenge for when it comes to acts of kindness. Do at least one nice thing for your spouse every day. Listen, if you're smart, you'll do more. That's why I said at least one. Some of you, if I didn't put that, if I said do one, you do one and you'd be done. I did one nice thing, cross it off the list. It's not about a list, it's about beginning to put these things into practice. Do at least one nice thing for your spouse every day. Just find something to do for them that's a kind act. Here's the next way that you can be kind. Words of kindness. See, actions are great. Words are powerful. Words impact, and words can leave a scar that's worse than anything physical because they penetrate to the heart of who we are. Here's how it puts it in Proverbs. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. You want to be strong. You want to be growing and maturing. Soul and body. Kind words feed your soul and your body. They make you strong. They make you come alive. Words are hugely important. So kind words, consistently, regularly saying kind things to your spouse, blessing them, building them up, realizing that they are the better part of you. The two shall be one. If you think you're the better part of the equation, I've got news for you. Look in the mirror. If you still do, come talk to me. I'll straighten you out. If you think you're better than your spouse, you miss the point of humility. Being humble says, I want to elevate the other person above me. So, kind words. It means saying things regularly, consistently, that build that person up. It also means that you need to restrain from harsh words. You need to restrain from harsh words. This was a huge issue in my marriage when we first got married. See, I grew up in a home where harsh words were the main course. I mean, we feasted on harsh words. If you said something mean about me, I'd say something meaner about you, and it would just, I would say, escalate or devolve. It depends which way you want to look at it, but it would just get worse and worse and worse. So I got married to a wife, and in her growing up, they didn't speak harshly to one another. It was kind, encouragement, loving, supporting. And so we get married, and I think, well, I'm going to teach her the way of the world. We were 20, so I just was harsh. I didn't know I was being harsh, but I was damaging her needlessly. It was like stomping on a flower. Finally, I realized, what have I done? Only because she said, what have you done? We had conversations after conversation, and I began to learn some things. But it took a long time to realize that my words were damaging my wife. I had to learn how to restrain from harsh words. It means communicating with your spouse different than with your friends. So let me just be straight out to the men. Guys, don't talk to your wives like you do to your bros. I know you think she laughs, she thinks it's funny, she knows I'm just joking with her, I'm cutting up on her, I'm making fun of this, I'm making fun of that, and you think it's all funny because she's laughing and she gives it back to you. I'm telling you, you're an idiot. You're just wrong. You think it's funny, you think she laughs, you are damaging her at the core of who she is. Even if she tells you, and when we leave today, listen to me, I'm telling you, if we leave today, you get in the car and say, does it bother you? And she says, no, it doesn't bother me. Stop. Just don't speak to her like that. Just don't. Begin to speak kind words. Listen, I can get together with my guy friends. I could say, man, you are so ugly. Man, you got beat with an ugly stick growing up. And they laugh because they know it's true. Here's the problem. If you do that to your wife, guys, and she laughs, it means she thinks it's true. Why would you want her to think like that about herself? Now, women, wives, don't talk to your husbands like your girlfriends. You can speak in absolute terms with your girlfriends, in broad brushstrokes. I always do this. I never do that. This always happens. You never. I always. Listen. If you speak like that to your husbands, you will immediately put them on the defensive. And you will devalue anything that they've ever done right. You've never done this. You always do that. I always feel. As soon as you say that, you're not speaking kind words. You may not think you are because you don't realize you're speaking in absolutes. You're just communicating truths. We hear it as wow. So what happens is you never do anything to help me. One of two things happens. The man begins to put a catalog in and said, wait, there was a time 17 years ago I did that. I'm off the hook. Or he says, well, she doesn't even remember when I tried. And if she doesn't remember when I tried, why should I bother trying again? So, kind words are hugely important. Part of kind words is this, that you appreciate who they are and what they do. In other words, show gratitude for who they are first, not just what they do. Sometimes I appreciate you doing this and that. Sometimes you say, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You're so wonderful. You're kind. You're funny. You make me laugh. I just appreciate you as a person. Then you can appreciate the stuff they do. That's wonderful. But the stuff they do changes. Life changes. So what they do might change. Make sure that they know you appreciate who they are. Who they are as a person. Do that regularly and consistently. Kind words. Words of kindness. So here's the challenge. Compliment your spouse at least once every day. Compliment them. You're as beautiful today as the day I married you. You're as awesome. You're the man of my dreams. You're the man of my prayers. I couldn't ask for anyone better. Boy, the way that you cut the crust off the bread for the kids, wow. Man, just find ways to compliment them. I appreciate you. Just do that at least once a day. So, acts of kindness, words of kindness. Now, here's what happens when you begin regularly to put acts of kindness into practice and words of kindness into practice. Here's what results. You will develop a heart of kindness. And that's really the whole issue. See, the rest of it is about exercising the kindness muscle. Words and actions so that kindness takes root in your heart. You develop a heart of kindness. See, a heart of kindness says, I will be kind no matter what the situation. I will be kind no matter how you treated me. I will be kind regardless of the situation we find ourselves in. A heart of kindness is something that's developed. I said earlier, nobody is born kind. Sure, some temperaments and some personalities, some people are more maybe dispositioned to be kind than other people. But nobody is just naturally kind. And anyone can learn to be kind. You can't say, well, I'm just a rattlesnake. I was born a rattlesnake, I'll die a rattlesnake. I meet guys that say that. Well, that's what she got. Well, she got the loser prize. If that's what you think, this is the best I'm ever going to be, well, shame on you. Because God can change you. God can transform you. God can do a work in you. Who you are isn't who you have to be. God can change you. So at some point you have to say, I can learn, I can grow, I can develop a heart of kindness. And as you do that, amazing things happen. See, kindness in words are wonderful. You say kind words, you build them up, you compliment them. Acts of kindness are great. Buying them something, making the meal that they always want, their favorite meal. Those acts of kindness are great. But really, a heart of kindness shows itself in amazing ways. Because what happens is you'll find that kindness can be used to resolve issues and diminish conflict. That's really, all of a sudden they're mad at you. They say something unkind to you. They say something harsh to you. They're critical in some way. And if you have a heart of kindness, your response is no longer, you know what, if you're harsh to me, I'm going to be harsh back. Your response is to your harshness, to your criticalness, to your unkindness, I can be kind in return. A heart of kindness says, I no longer have to react with that knee-jerk reaction of I need to be right. And so if you said something and it's not 100% right, then I can be unkind in pointing out how stupid you are. No, instead you say, I could be kind. So they're wrong. Have you ever had this? You have a couple over, you're hanging out, and they're telling a story. And the poor guy is trying to tell a story, and he says it was 1982, and we were driving a green pickup truck. And she says, no, it was 1984, and it was a blue convertible. Well, does it matter if he's wrong? Just let him tell the story. You think you're helping, you're not helping, you're being unkind. Just let him tell the story. Who cares if it's wrong? Does it matter? The couple they don't care. They don't care if it was 82, 84, blue, red. Who cares? Just let them tell the story. Let them be wrong. That's learning to be kind. Kindness can diffuse conflict. So here's an example. Let's say your husband comes home, walks in the door, and the first thing he says to you is an unkind remark. Something. It may not be a harsh thing in how we would measure. However you would define that. It could just be, it was an offhanded comment, but it was something, and you find him being unkind, speaking unkindly to you, speaking harshly to you in some way, shape, or form. About 5 minutes later, he says to you, can you help me move this? Can you help me with this project? Now, a heart of kindness says, absolutely. Let me help. While you might be justified in saying, nope, well, help you? Help yourself. After the way you spoke to me, why should I help you? That's not operating from a heart of kindness. That's back and forth going down. Heart of kindness says, yeah, I'll help. Or this, gentlemen, so you get home, there's something you want to share with your wife. She's on the phone with your mother-in-law. 2 hours later, she hangs up the phone. At that point, you don't want to share anything. You've already turned on the game. You're sitting, vegging out, watching the game, relaxing. And she walks into the room, and says, there's something I need to talk to you about. Yeah, that window closed. We could have talked 2 hours ago, but you were busy talking to your mom. Why should I talk to you now? But that's not a heart of kindness. A heart of kindness diffuses conflict. It helps resolve issues. All of a sudden, you say, yeah, let's talk. Here's something I want to share too. And you hit the power button and turn it off. And you have a conversation. That's operating from a heart of kindness. See, because really, at the end of the day, when you develop a heart of kindness, what you'll find is this, that kindness can produce change. It can produce a river of change. It can produce so much change in your life and in your marriage that it will transform your marriage. Kindness is one of the transformational truths of who God is. God is kind. Love is kind. God is love. And we diminish the power of kindness. But in Romans, Paul is writing, and he's talking to these Christians who are mean and harsh and judgmental and critical of all these people around them. And he says, you missed the whole point. And here's how he puts it. He says, don't you see how wonderfully kind and tolerant and patient God is with you? Did this mean nothing to you? Can't you see that His kindness, the kindness of God, is intended to turn you from sin? The kindness of God is intended to lead you to repentance. Kindness can produce a river of change. It can change your marriage. It can change your family. It can change your relationships. Every act of kindness is meaningful because it reflects the kindness of God. Every time you're kind to your husband, every time you're kind to your wife, you are reflecting the heart of your Heavenly Father. And it's His kindness that's intended to lead men to repentance. When you're kind to your spouse, it changes them. It changes the dynamics of your marriage. It changes your relationship. Remember, we read in Proverbs, acting kindly will reward you. Acting cruelty will destroy you. When we act kind, it reflects the kindness of God. So just like last week, here's my challenge. And I'm asking you, will you accept the challenge? Will you accept the challenge to be kind to one another this week? I don't have scorecards this week. Now, if you want to do a scorecard, you can keep your own score. But I don't have scorecards this week. This is something that you need to do if you want to accept the challenge. And here it is. Do at least one nice thing for your spouse every day and compliment your spouse at least once every day. Now, I'm going to tell you, if your spouse is sitting here, first of all, you're not going to get a lot of credit for doing what the pastor told you for a week. They're going to say, I know why you're doing this. Listen, if that's your heart and that's your attitude, then you missed the point. The point is, begin to say, I want to do this, not just this week, but in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. But it starts by doing something. It starts by flexing that muscle. Begin to exercise it. Do at least one nice thing for your spouse every day. And compliment your spouse at least once every day. Start this afternoon. Monday, Tuesday. The first few days your spouse may say you're doing it because Justin said you're supposed to. By Thursday or Friday they may forget that. By Saturday they may say, hey, I like this. I really appreciate this. And by a week, 2 from now, and you keep doing this, all of a sudden it becomes those regular, consistent acts of kindness and words of kindness that will produce in you a heart of kindness. And that is what we want to see. Would you stand with me this morning?